Welcome back to the Third Rail. I'm John Teeter, and today we're going to be bringing you an explosive free speech debate featuring Myron Gaines and Tim Pool. And they were discussing free speech and how it's going down on X. And give me one sec, I just got to queue up the video here. What's that, guys? Here we go.
It's pretty wild that they tried taking this all the way, and I'm wondering if there's going to be precedent set from this in any way, but I feel bad for this guy. Could you imagine being like a veteran who's trying to evacuate people because Biden screwed up? I wonder if the real reason CNN defamed him is because CNN was trying to run cover for the Biden administration and their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise.
Joe Biden did exactly tune out and say, start firebombing, and then everyone's whole world is entrenched in political conflict.
It's immediately going to be the deportations are going to occur, and then it will immediately be illegal
aliens, right? So,
Sorry, guys. I just got to find the beginning of it. It should be right around here.
aliens, right? So, I could.
immediately out of the gate is what I suspect happening.
I want deportations.
Well, they already said no mass deportations. Holman has come out and said that it's going to be criminal aliens.
Well, that's how they're going to start it. But I want
status quo always.
I want deportations that are going to piss off the
criminals.
left immensely. I want deportations that are going to make the left lose their mind.
So when it comes to
15, 20 million
criminal aliens, right? So I could speak about this, right? So there's something called the CAP, Criminal Alien Program, that ICE.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm a little behind on it. So here they're actually just talking about immigration and how Trump ran on, I'm going to deport everybody, and now they're kind of walking it back a bit. But that's right around here is where it starts.
The Secretary of State, and he's coming out and saying,
yeah, but no immigration authority.
No, there is like
talking about this, but yeah, I mean, there's a whole, I can talk about how we have not just an immigration problem with illegal immigration, but we also have a problem with illegal migration. The H-1B visa, the F-1 visa, the B-1, B-2 visa, all these visas are absolutely abused by foreign nationals coming to the United States and exploits our immigration system.
But Myron, Americans are too lazy, and their work ethic means that we should hire from other countries.
This is where it gets started, because it started with the whole discussion of immigration online. We've covered it on this channel where Vivek was basically insulting American culture, and then you had Indian people coming out of the woodwork saying all kinds of Americans are lazy, and then Americans struck back, and it got ugly on there.
Yeah, Vivek is stupid for saying that. Like,
wait, did Vivek actually say that?
Yeah, he basically made this whole like long tweet saying Americans are lazy and we don't, we're more focused on the prom queen versus like the nerds and us. It's like, no, bro, no, that's not what it is. The issue is this: we have a issue with H-1B visas where we just let these people come in because it's cheap labor, and we've not reeled it in, and we've not reeled in F-1 visas. People literally come here on like, oh, I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to go to a language school in America. They enroll into school, they show up, they fly in, and then they never go to school, and then they're in the country illegally. And that's how a lot of people actually come to the United States: is they come in legally and then they overstay or never leave. And then another thing too, which I talked about extensively, is like the visa waiver program. A lot of people come here come here from first world countries and overstay. Canada, Australia, England, etc. Because we have way more opportunities here than these other places. So they come in legally, right? Because they don't need a visa, and then they overstay as well. Like Miami is overrun with Canadians and people from Western Europe just wanting to get a job, right? J1 visas also exploit all the time. So we have a massive immigration problem where not only are we getting destroyed in the southwest border, which I could talk about that, but we're also getting destroyed when it comes to the exploitation of our visa system as well. It's a huge problem. And for Vivek and Elon to just write it off as like, oh, well, the Americans are lazy. Fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to immigration at all. And that's the problem when we have these individuals come in, right, that don't know anything about Title 8. They don't know anything about immigration. They don't know what's going on the border. They don't understand how our visas are getting exploited. They don't know. And they're trying to talk as if they do know, and they don't.
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of disagreement around this.
No. Not with you guys, of course. I mean, you guys get it, but like I had to, you know, we get our verifications taken on Twitter for exposing this, and it's like Vivek and Elon simply don't know.
Yeah, but you know that story is not entirely accurate.
Definitely, people got their account verification taken on X mainly. People said a lot of shitty things, but it was only being used on one side. Basically, if you were an American saying shitty things about Indians, they took away your check. If you were not an American citizen saying shitty things about Americans, they didn't take anyone's check and they let it fly. And even one of Twitter's own software engineers got into it, saying really crappy things about Americans.
The verification removal thing. So I would say...
Or it was like 10 of us that got it taken away for questioning the H-1B stuff.
So the first thing is it's hard to know exactly if it was H-1B. Well, the one thing I can say is that when it was OG Conservative got their gold checkmark removed, it removed everyone underneath them.
Yes.
Do you know why they got their thing removed?
Well, I know
they were posting photos of Indian people calling them slurs and like, so I'm not saying it was okay to remove their badges, but the issue was Elon citing hate speech. Like Elon didn't personally do this, but it was likely X saying hate speech. Yeah. Elon then went on later to say, actually, I don't know if it was Elon, but someone from X was pointing out that a lot of the accounts that did get suspended that were smaller bot accounts were sharing images of children that were inappropriate. Yeah,
well, they got their badge back, but what I find interesting is like everyone that was critical of the H-1B visa pretty much lost their verification. Like everybody, pretty much.
So they get them back?
No, I still don't have mine back. I mean,
like Laura's got her.
Some people got their badge back. Laura Loomer was one of them. The thing Tim was talking about, the OG conservative group, I think all of them got them back, but several accounts were also suspended indefinitely. So it wasn't just verification badges. Obviously, Myron is a little too big for them to fully remove him, and he didn't say anything. I mean, he said a lot of incendiary shit, but nothing too crazy. But there were definitely people who got suspended and are not back.
Laura got hers back, but everybody else pretty much, and they're also.
And you weren't part of any organizations. You had personally bought.
Yeah, so I had my own organization. They took it from my organization, and then I got it again. The organization, they took it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though is I also noticed that a lot of the groups that got their verifications removed have an overlap with constantly talking about Jews.
Yes. Being critical of Israel or H-1B visas, you're done.
I'm surprised you didn't.
But hold on, no, not Israel. Dave Smith didn't get his verification removed, and Dave Smith was anti-H-1B and critical of Israel. It was specifically the Jews.
That's one thing that happens. Like we were talking about this the other night.
That's the thing. Okay, fine. When Candace was talking about the blacks, no one batted an eyelash. No one cared. But people on Twitter say anything disparaging about Jews, even if they're just saying it in a broad generalization way, kind of like when a lot of people say women or gays, you know, they're not saying all, but you say Jews, that's going to get you canned.
Hate speech violation. That's what got removed.
If you like, people talk about like the freedom of speech and stuff on X, and they're critical of Elon and Elon banning people. I'm not for it. I don't endorse it. But the fact of the matter is, if you are delicate with the way that you talk about these issues, they're not going to ban you.
Well, then that's not freedom of speech, and that's directly why.
And then that's fine. That's fine. But no, listen, hold on.
There's debate there.
The important part is that you are able. The important part of freedom of speech is the ability to exchange ideas, not the ability to fling shit. Right? If you're saying, oh, I don't have the freedom of speech unless I can insult whoever I want, however I want, you're going to. Well, I mean, you can disagree, but the point is, that's the way that these platforms are going to look at it.
Yeah, so platform, like, okay.
The issue here is this. Okay, first of all, free speech is the right to insult and be offensive. In fact, it's the only speech that needs to be protected.
Yes.
The issue, however,
Tim is right here. It is the only speech that needs to be protected. It's the ugly speech that people don't want to protect. The stuff that really offends people. That's what the First Amendment is for. And also political speech, obviously.
What?
No, the only
Quite literally.
the
Hate
only
speech is
no
free
listen
speech.
no no
It's the only spe- only free
no the important thing about freedom of speech is saying controversial ideas. You can approach saying controversial ideas in a delicate way. It's not important to be able to say kike or Jew and insult people like that. That's not
free speech.
That's free speech.
Yes,
I might not like it, but I would defend your right to say it.
I'm not saying that it's not free speech, but you're talking about the way platforms are going to approach it. The important thing about having the freedom of speech is the ability to exchange ideas. Sure. It's not important to if you're like,
well,
I
there's a lot to break down.
people the way that I want. It's not.
Now, I understand his sentiment, and, I don't go out saying a bunch of racial slurs, but that's what the free speech is for.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Hold on. I got to address this. First of all, I will stress it again. The idea that someone would determine your speech to be offensive and then ban you for it, quite literally, is anti-free speech, regardless of how you express yourself. More importantly, Elon Musk isn't violating the free speech of individuals by taking away premium. Elon made the point. He said,
I disagree, but
some people think freedom of speech means I have to pay them for it. It does not.
Okay.
Premium, yes, you can get paid. He could just deactivate the payments if that was the case, or the payments to, there's advertisers, and if they don't want your stuff appearing next to the advertisers, that's fine. Don't make it appear next to the advertisements. But you're limiting their reach if you're blocking people from being able to see the thing. I have one friend, he's got like maybe 20 followers, nothing crazy. He doesn't even post anything edgy or anything, but for some reason he's shadow banned. He can tag me and stuff on X, and I won't even see it unless I directly go to his page to look at it. So I don't even know why his reach has been limited, but he can't effectively, no one can see his stuff.
Okay, can I push back on that? Yeah, so my thing is this, right? If you're going to say freedom of speech, that also means freedom of reach, and that also means monetization to a degree. Now, let me explain why.
No way.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I'm in a jail cell and I say, oh, I have freedom of speech, and I'm talking to a wall, that technically I have the freedom of speech, but I don't have the freedom of reach, so it doesn't matter, right? Freedom of speech only matters if you have the freedom of reach. You mentioned the marketplace of ideas. To get to the marketplace of ideas, I must reach the marketplace of ideas so that my ideas can even be heard.
No one has an obligation to advertise you.
Well,
this is where Myron kind of screws up. It's not about Elon advertising him. He doesn't have to promote his stuff directly, as in let his stuff, push it out extra. But, Myron has, I think, like 250-ish thousand subscribers or followers on X. But if they shadow ban him, then none of those followers will even see his stuff. That's the limiting of freedom of reach. Freedom of reach, fine, don't promote it, but at least let the people who want to follow you see it. That's the big issue. And Myron doesn't really hit on that, but that's the issue.
Here's the thing. When we're talking about premium, you pay for that. And then also he took away the subscribers, which is the creator dealing directly with their subscribers.
I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
That's another thing. When someone if you don't want to pay for the advertising because the person says a lot of messed up stuff, that's fine. But if they're paying for premium and people want to pay them, not Elon paying them, Elon would still make money off of it, actually. But if people want to pay him, why is that? Why is Elon taking that away? That's kind of bullshit.
Taking away the subscribers too?
Yep.
Okay. So let me
I have said
let
since
me just finish my stance, right? So my thing is this. If you're going to go ahead and say this is a free speech app, right? And then you're going to turn back and say, oh, well, that doesn't mean freedom of reach or monetization, blah, blah, blah. That is censorship, because if you take away someone's ability to earn or someone's ability to reach, you are directly censoring them and their ability to reach the marketplace. And the other thing too, also,
communist.
What do you mean communist?
It's communism. I have a right to your services. Nah, nice try.
But he's marketing as a free speech app.
See, this is where a lot of the right is gonna lose all of their moral high ground, because the whole reason that we've been complaining about getting censored online is that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these have all become the proverbial town square, which means that people should be able to access them and people should be able to put their ideas out there. However, the left funny enough, was always saying, well, this is a private company, which is usually the rights argument for most things. So they've been saying, this is a private company. Why are you entitled to their services? But the problem is, it is the place where politics are discussed. It's the place where everything is discussed. So if we can't access it, or our reach is being limited on it, not pushed, Elon has no obligation to push any messages out there that he doesn't want pushed. But if he's not allowing people who follow you to see it, then that's an issue. If he's using monetization as a means of rewards and punishment, well, then all he's doing is limiting speech, because people will self-censor. Tim Pool himself has said this about YouTube in the past, but now he's going to argue against that for some reason. Well, I guess because he doesn't care, because he's monetized everywhere, because he doesn't really take any crazy hard stances, at least nothing controversial anyway, but that he's going to argue for that now.
So that's the issue. If you're going to market it as a free speech app, and he uses the First Amendment to validify his stance with it being free speech, and hate speech is protected under the First Amendment under a million different case laws. My thing is, if you're going to if you're going to use the First Amendment as the basis and say that it is the bedrock of a democracy, then you need to stand by that, and that means that you are not going to sit there and I don't believe in censorship, but then you demonetize people. I would argue demonetizing someone is one of the best ways to censor, because now that creates a chilling effect with everyone else, where I can't say what he's saying, I can't even say what I want to say, so I'm going to chill out and not.
You have no right to someone else's services. When the first adpocalypse happened on YouTube, and they started demonetizing.
That's YouTube. They're not a free speech app.
And they started censoring people. I said, and I maintain this position, so long as you are allowed to post the content, people can subscribe to it, and they will receive your content.
That's not true. If you get shadow banned, no one will see it. It will not be viewed at all. So this is just a lie. It's not true. Tim doesn't know that, because he'll never get shadow banned, because, again, he doesn't say anything controversial enough. So he won't get shadow banned. He won't experience that. But that's what happens. If you get shadow banned, if you say enough things that Twitter doesn't like, they will shadow ban you. And then no one will see it, even the people who actually follow you. And as far as subscribers, the subscribers are people who want to pay you. Why? It's not like the advertisers are being forced to pay you like there would be if that's, I can understand if Elon takes away advertiser money from a creator that says things that can't be advertised on. I mean, I would think that they shouldn't have it taken away from posts that they may post that don't break any kind of advertiser norms, but I can at least understand that one. But the subscribers just doesn't make sense. That's people willingly giving you money to post extra content, and Elon takes that away because he wants to punish certain speech that he doesn't agree with.
That's the extent of free speech on the platform. The idea that X should allow you to be boosted, to reach new people, or receive money from it, those are services they provide you. They have no obligation to, and that's outside of free speech.
Well,
you're
reaching new people. If people share your stuff and then they shadow ban that as well, then that's not that they're pushing you. That's other people are pushing you, trying to promote you, and Twitter doesn't allow it. So they are banning other people indirectly from being heard, from having their reach noticed. Yeah.
You're arguing that rule in recently. They literally didn't have that in terms of service. They literally just put that in a couple of days ago.
Elon has no obligation to have you use a payment processing service.
Tim, you made the point that not
he marketed it as a free speech app. You use the First Amendment as the basis.
Should pornographers have freedom of reach on Twitter?
That's the thing. You've made the point that total free speech.
Wait. So it's not free speech then? Your free speech is limited to pornographers, is what you're saying?
No. Pornography is a whole other.
They're talking over.
That's not. The pornography is not the same at all about when we're talking about political discourse or having.
This is kind of the same thing as, like, you can't run around naked in the streets. Myron has a more morality-based reason because he just doesn't want any pornography anywhere ever. I'm a libertarian, so I don't care as long as you're not, posting it on the wall. Like if you go to Wynwood and there's pornographic art on the murals, that are out there. I would not want that there because kids go there. That's plain and simple. There are nude beaches. There's no issue that it's known there's no kids there, but yeah, but you can't have a platform where kids are running around and have porn on it all over the place. That's simple. You know, it's not even a logical stretch.
Freedom of speech except for pornographers. So you're not a free speech.
Pornography should not exist at all. It should be banned.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but picking and choosing what your freedom of speech is what I'm saying.
No. Pornography is not speech.
We have already had this discussion about there is no universal principle.
Yeah.
There is no free speech absolutism. It doesn't exist.
But here's the thing.
So there shouldn't be freedom of reach on Twitter for everybody.
Pornography is not the same whatsoever. Like,
okay, so what else should there not be freedom of reach on for Twitter? So it shouldn't be for pornographers.
All speech should be allowed outside of obviously like non-inciting violence. I think it should align with
not
the First
pornographers.
Amendment. Guys. Here's the thing. Elon Musk framed Twitter saying, "I believe in the First Amendment and it's the bedrock of a democracy." If you're going to say that, stand by it. That means freedom of speech, hate speech, etc. It's all protected, and this has been shown a million times in different case law. That's my thing. So for him to say, "Well, I'm going to take premium away because you don't agree with me on H1B, etc." When other people do the same shit.
Okay, bro. When you know that misgendering is banned on X.
What?
Misgendering is not allowed on X.
What do you mean by misgendering? Like calling someone like a T-word?
No, misgendering. Calling someone, somebody who says that their pronoun is she, you can't say he. Elon did this. I complained about it. It's a big story. X has maintained their hate speech policies the entire time. It never got rid of them. We can criticize.
They selectively enforce it.
They always have.
They selectively enforce it.
So the inversion now is it was the government colluding with the former heads of Twitter to selectively enforce it in one way. Elon alleviated a bunch of that tensions, but still has some people censored and some people still lose access to some services.
Yeah, but we're missing.
So my point is literally when you say he marketed a certain way, I'll say, bro, like since he took it over, he refused to reinstate Alex Jones for like a year after he took it over, saying, nope, don't care. He said something I don't like.
Yep.
The whole matter never changed.
Yeah, but see,
so by all means, criticize it. Like I'd say we should change it.
Because now if you disagree with him or you go against, I mean, he took a blue check from Osmongold for saying he got boosted on a video game. That's problematic.
Yeah, the Alex Jones thing. I mean, it took everyone getting on his ass about it for him to reverse on that. And now that he's reversed on it, Alex Jones has totally just kissed his ass every chance he gets. But, you know, Elon is like a big kid and he selectively enforces things and then selectively goes against them, like what he's about to say now. Asmongold, a streamer, big streamer with a huge following, he called out Elon for being a fake gamer because Elon basically, it looks like he's sharing his account to get his levels up to where they are. And one of his big claims is that he's one of the top Diablo players in the world, amongst other games that he plays. And so now he's got exposed for that. And he then went and leaked Asmongold's DMs that he had with him, which also goes against Twitter's policy. And he took away his blue check mark, which it seems like he got it back now, but still. Like the fact that just, I'm going to have a temper tantrum, take away your blue check mark. Fuck you. No, that's not cool. I never trusted Elon. I will never trust him. You know, he'll, anytime he gets a little upset with you, he will do whatever he can to screw with you because he's that kind of person.
This guy's drunk with power. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. We disagree with him on H-1B visa. Yeah, he exposed the DMs and he took his blue check away. So, like, this is problematic because he comes in saying, I believe in free speech. The Don Lemon interview goes viral everywhere. I believe it's the bedrock of democracy. Frames it against the First Amendment. Well, stand on that, dude. Because you can't sit there and say, well, I'm going to demonetize people, take their subscribers, and take their freedom away.
Why does that mean free speech grants you access to someone's labor?
What do you mean? Free speech grants, what do you mean by someone's labor?
So, X builds a service.
Yes.
On top of that service are other things you can have.
Yep.
Okay. Why should you get access to the labor of the company?
Because he marketed it that saying it's a free speech app.
So you're saying
I'm holding Elon to his word.
So a business in this country can never sever a relationship with a client.
Well, my thing is, if you're going to market it as a free speech app and then you are going to censor people for the free speech that you promote, that's a problem.
But they're not silencing your free speech. They're taking away a payment processing service.
And they're also taking away your...
I think that anytime you lose the moral ground on it's a private business, it can do whatever it wants. When it's the place where everyone goes to talk politics, then you're removing people from the political conversation. That's the issue. They either need, if you ask me, these social media companies should be forced to either say no politics at all under any circumstance, and then they can censor all that they want, or yes, we're allowing politics, and then they can't censor anything, that doesn't break some other law. That it would just have to be a First Amendment platform, which is what Elon did market it as. So he's marketing as a First Amendment platform. He said if it doesn't break any kind of speech law in the country that it's being posted in. It's not going to get banned. And then he went against that.
Your reach, because the verification absolutely affects your ability to reach.
Your ability to speak is not advertising for you. Why do you think a network should be forced to do something for you? You want free speech? Go stand at a street corner in downtown Chicago. You can say whatever you want.
Sure.
Why should anyone be forced to amplify your message for your speech?
Well, it's not about being forced. It's about you pay for the service, and then he says it's free.
Again, Tim keeps on using this weasel word amplified. That's not the issue. We're not asking Elon to amplify. We're asking him to, I mean, when you pay for premium, your message does get amplified, but don't amplify it. Let the people who follow me, let it appear on their timeline just like anything else on their newsfeed. That's the issue, is that he completely removes you from the conversation. Myron has a huge amount of following. I can't see his posts most of the time unless I physically go to his page and look at it, what he's been posting. It doesn't just show up on my newsfeed anymore.
Free speech, and it's not free speech. You lied. So that's why he's getting a lot of issues with this.
We're going to try this again.
People. Look, if you're going to market it as a free speech app, Tim, you have to stand on it.
No, bro, you're misunderstanding. You are not banned, right?
No.
So he marketed a platform for free speech, and you were still allowed to speak.
Yes.
He offered you a premium service that allows you to make money on the
Which
platform.
directly affects your reach.
But he's suspended the accounts of all of the Nick Fuentes Groyper fans. He's suspended other people, anyone who says certain things or who ratios him on a certain topic that he loves, like the H-1B visa, then he bans them.
Reach, which affects your ability, your free speech. It does affect your speech because it affects your reach.
No. Your
freedom of speech is contingent upon reach, Tim. That's where me and you disagree.
No, absolutely not. No one has to advertise you and promote you to other people for you to have free speech.
Freedom of reach means
you are only saying that because you are being negatively impacted by a private.
Again, he keeps on going to this amplification thing. It's not about the amplification. Myron totally missed the chance on this. I'm disappointed. He's usually pretty good at these debates, but he totally missed that he's not asking for amplification. Amplification would mean they're actively pushing out your content to people who don't follow you and who aren't following the people who are sharing your content. That would be amplification. It's not amplification. If I follow Tim Pool and Tim Pool posts Myron and Myron is shadow banned and they don't show me that Tim Pool reposted Myron, that's limiting. That's shadow banning Myron, not allowing his natural reach to get out. If Tim Pool posts Myron and I see it, that's not amplification. Tim Pool's amplifying it, but that's not Twitter actively going out of their way to amplify it. That's Tim Pool saying, I like this that Myron posted and I'm going to repost it. That's the issue. No one's asking Elon to artificially amplify and send our messages out to people who don't follow us. That's not what we're talking about. And Tim Pool keeps on saying amplification, and that's what it insinuates.
Action of a private company
that advertises
they allow you
freedom of speech.
They allow you to keep speaking. They've not censored your speech.
They have.
No, they have not.
Yes, they have.
What words of yours have they done?
I get posts taken all the time, visibility limited because of for hate speech.
So in the confines of Elon's moral code, what is problematic? What is misaligned with the rules that have always been in place?
That's problematic because he interprets what's hate speech now.
Okay, you're conflating two different things. If we're talking about Elon taking over a company and marketing a service with hate speech rules that we all disagree with, you knew what you were buying when you bought it.
Well, here's the thing. Again, it's selective enforcement.
And it's always supposed to be. And it's
supposed to be free speech. And that's where the issue lies, where, look, if you're going to market this as a free speech app, that means hate speech as well. And then again, like I said before, freedom of speech only matters if you have freedom of reach.
Are you aware that Elon has never unbanned some accounts?
Yes.
So you knew when you bought the service, Elon was selectively enforcing the censorship policies.
It depends. In what regard do you mean? Like,
you say Elon advertised the service. That was for free speech. But you knew he was selectively enforcing the rules.
Well, here's the thing. Those people were banned before he even came into power.
And he never unbanned them. And he outright said explicitly, I will not unban some of these people.
And he unbanned them. So he goes back, he unbanned Alex Jones, he unbanned a couple of people, unbanned Nick Fuentes, etc.
Sure. So and there's still a lot of accounts that have never been unbanned.
Like, I don't know who they are, but I mean...
They exist.
Like, I mean, look, my argument is simply this.
He's going to not give any kind of name because he doesn't know. He's just... I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there have been people that haven't been unbanned since Elon took over. I know Alex Jones was the one big one that he said he wasn't going to unban. Then Nick Fuentes was another one that he didn't really ever speak on, but he didn't unban him right away. And then eventually he unbanned both of them. Basically, once he unbanned Alex Jones, he unbanned Nick Fuentes. I'm sure there are others. He did ban Kanye West at one point and then reinstated him. Tim Pool is using the exact same. Back when he was arguing on Joe Rogan against Jack and can't remember her name, the Indian woman who was the head of legal over there, he wasn't making these arguments that he's making now. Now he's making their arguments for them, and Myron is making his arguments. The problem is limiting political speech, period. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. Now, if Myron were to post like some porn, yeah, of course, limit it. Kids shouldn't be able to see that. But kids shouldn't be on social media regardless. But political speech, that should not be limited. It shouldn't. Fine, don't amplify it, but don't limit it. Don't allow it to get its natural views that it should get.
If you're going to come in and say free speech app and model it after the First Amendment like you did, stand on it. That's all I'm saying. And taking away people's premium and penalizing them for saying hate speech is antithetical to freedom of speech.
So the issue at play right now is,
and we can agree to disagree, Tim. It's fine.
I believe you are arguing you are deserving of a service that a private company is selling because you want to be advertised, and you are arguing First Amendment protections, or at least principles, free speech principles, because you want promotion.
No, I'm arguing free speech principles that they advertised and said that is our app.
That's free speech. Never said you get advertising. End of story.
No.
You don't get advertising.
This is where me and you can agree to disagree, and that's fine.
I think that's communism.
But I think by
the idea that
censoring people's
a company
reach,
must give me a service.
That is antithetical. That is antithetical to freedom of speech by limiting someone's reach. It is antithetical.
Tim was saying that it's messed up that you couldn't post COVID stuff on Facebook and X before, and he was making these same arguments. You're censoring people from speaking what they want to speak, and now he's making the other argument that the companies, you're not entitled to the companies. He was making the same thing, the digital town square, which is a true statement. This is where people go to talk politics online. And his previous stance was right, but now he's flipped. I don't understand why. I don't know what's changed, but now he's flipped, and now he's making the argument that they're a private company, and fuck you if you think otherwise. You're not entitled to their service. This is ridiculous.
Because speech has no need if it can't reach people. If I can't reach the marketplace of ideas, what do you like? What's the point?
So when you go out in the middle of the street in Chicago and you start yelling, what reach do you have?
Well, the people there can hear me, right, to a degree. But what I'm saying is that, again, if you're going to market it as a free speech app,
should you be legally allowed to use an amplifier?
Should you be legally
Should you be legally allowed to use an amplifier for your speech?
Well, I think if that platform is going to advertise and say we believe in free speech and use the First Amendment, then it needs to stand by it. That's my thing.
In public, should you?
I'm simply just holding Elon to his word. That's all I'm doing.
But it's been problematic. I think you're personally aggrieved and you want something from a private company.
I mean, it's not me even having a personal issue with it. Like, I don't care because like Twitter is my main thing. But what I'm saying is that it's extremely hypocritical to say this is a free speech app modeled after the First Amendment and then go back on that and then take people's checks away for disagreeing with you on H-1B visas.
We don't disagree on selective enforcement.
Yep.
Where we disagree is that you think he should be promoting you.
No, I think he should be promoting. He should be allowing everyone to have a fair seat at the table and have their voice heard. Everybody.
How have you lost reach?
When you lose verification, your ability to be seen drops off precipitously. This is a fact.
There's a paid
he's even said this with premium.
There's a paid service. So you believe that your words should be presented in a feed for other people algorithmically to discover.
No, I think the best ideas should be able to be discovered and let the people decide. But it's not even reaching is my point.
So can people still follow you?
But if you're shadow banned or you're
they can go to your account, they can see what you're posting, right?
Yeah, but you're shadow banned. You can't discover it. It doesn't come up on a feed.
Not having premium doesn't shadow ban you.
It absolutely limits your ability. Yeah, it deprioritizes.
It doesn't even necessarily have to do with not having premium. When you have premium, it definitely, you get seen higher on the like, let's say you're on a post and 1 million people reply. I mean, usually the bigger accounts will get seen first. But if you have premium and the higher level premium you have, it'll kind of shoot you up the list a little bit. But it's not that other people will just magically see your posts. That's not what Myron is asking for. That's what Tim is trying to conflate it with. He keeps on doing that this whole conversation.
Sizes you, which is shadow banning, and it hurts your ability to be seen. Which is
shadow banning is when you are removed from the space entirely without your knowledge.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Ban.
Yeah, but here's, again, it's harder for people to find you. Your tweets don't.
Myron is shadow banned. I don't see his posts, and I follow him.
Post up on the newsfeed as usual for you. So that is all censorship. That is all censorship, Tim. I mean, you might disagree with me, but that is all censorship.
And
I'm against all censorship.
There's an argument. I mean, well, I'll throw it to you guys because we can take it away from us.
Sure.
Do you guys believe that
we can agree to disagree, Tim? It's fine, but like, yeah.
Like you're a guy. Should platforms be required to offer you some degree of promotion in your content?
I think if you pay for it, I think you enter a contract, right? I'm paying for services. You should provide services. At any point, I can end that contract. It's Elon's house. Right? If I invited you to my house and, come hang out, say what you want, and you're being rude to my guests or whatever, I'm going to ask you to leave. At the end of the day, it's my house. You have free speech. You can say what you want, but there are going to be consequences sometimes for saying the things you say. So is it completely free speech? I don't think so. I think you can be deplatformed. I think you can be
He's now saying that Twitter is Elon's house. It's a bit different to, you can't compare that to a house. It's completely different.
Monetize, these things happen, but it's still more free than anywhere else, and it is his house. So you're
Rumble's more free by far.
Sure, Rumble absolutely.
Rumble beats X to every degree when it comes to
Rumble's
speech.
Rumble's pretty crazy. They're just like, do your thing.
Yeah, like Rumble, there's no censorship at all. Pretty much, like
Rumble's
you
the
can say
4chan
whatever.
of video.
Rumble, that's why, and that's my issue.
4chan has rules.
Like me and Chris Pavlovsky, we disagree on so many different things politically, but like he will always fight for my right to say it, and that's why I have an enormous amount of respect for him. Versus with Elon, I'm like, no, the H-1B is a problem. XYZ, verification gone, and that's my.
What do you guys think?
Uncle Power.
I still think that the at the end of the day, because I think it's the way that you say things. I think just like you were saying, Tim, like there is some level of regulation, but for everybody when it comes to freedom of speech, you have a problem with porn. You don't consider that freedom of speech. Some people say that insults are bad or hate speech. I don't agree that hate speech is actually, it violates.
Hate speech is not a thing legally in this country. The First Amendment says nothing about hate speech. It does not. You're allowed to call anyone whatever you want to call them in the most insulting way possible, if that's what you choose. There is no law against it. Elon said X will follow the law of the land. So the whole hate speech argument is flat out retarded.
It's a freedom of speech, but I do understand that on a platform like X, as long as you can articulate arguments, I think that they have a very broad approach to the freedom of speech. You can't insult people. You can't, use certain words or whatever. I think that it's actually about pattern of behavior is what actually gets you banned, because people like Scott Horton, people like Dave Smith, they make all sorts of arguments against Israel, all the time. They're constantly critical of Israel, and they're not in jeopardy of getting banned because of the way they approach.
This guy's just obsessed with Israel because they weren't even talking about Israel. They were talking about the H-1B visa thing. And that's what got Myron kind of shadow banned, not the Israel stuff so much. Myron doesn't really use any racial slurs on the Jews, and on there he typically only talks about Zionism and not any kind of anti-Semitism kind of talking points. But it's the H-1Bs that is what got him shadow banned and demonetized, and this guy just brings it back to Israel for no apparent reason.
Which the subject. So
David Duke is still banned.
Yeah, is he?
Yeah.
I thought he was back.
So I will say this to the super chatters: falsely conflating my position on free speech and trying to apply that to banks is is intentionally misconstruing what I'm saying. When YouTube started censoring people, there was a question of whether or not you should be recommended or put in the partner program. And my position has always been, if they have a monopoly on this platform and they ban you and remove your ability to post videos, that's censorship. That is a violation of the principle of free speech. It's a public forum. We all want to come here. However, YouTube also operates an ad sales agency. But if an advertiser says we refuse to, like Colgate toothpaste says, we don't want to be associated with this guy's content, you have no right to that advertiser putting a video on your like an ad on your video. How does?
Yeah, that's fine. That's not what has been argued. It's not at all. What's been argued is that people don't see your content at all. It's like just when Tim had in the past complained about you couldn't find his videos on YouTube or Google. And you could go to the video was there, but certain videos that he had posted, he made a whole video about it where you could not find it. YouTube is owned by Google, and you couldn't find it on YouTube or Google unless you had the direct link. He was complaining about that, but now he has issue with this.
How does that make sense? So the question
doesn't have issue with this.
The question always becomes about scale. If there's a single company that controls everything, then the government steps in and enshrines the rights of the individual in every capacity. If we're dealing with a platform that is not monopolistic, then they do not. Scale matters. So for a bank, for instance, Visa and MasterCard having a complete monopoly on the system, they forego rights as a private business and now must act as a public, it's like a privately owned public entity, essentially. So you can't.
There is no other place to talk politics that isn't heavily censored. Facebook censors everybody. They say they're going to cut down on that, but they're not going to. That's fake. They're just going to take away the fact checkers and make people have to report people and just not do the auto censor where the bots find your stuff and then censor it. That's all that is. Twitter claimed that they were going to be free speech. They're not. And they're just as bad as the others. It's just that they allow a little bit more speech than what the others do. It was good. It shifted the Overton window a hair, but if there's no online place that has the capacity to hold all of these conversations politically where there's no censorship, then they all are in line and all are a monopoly. Big tech, Silicon Valley, is a monopoly on social media.
Disable someone's right to use a bank when you are the only bank or the only payment processor. However, free speech is not the same thing as being required to promote somebody. That's my position.
Yeah, I see your position. You're saying, look, you can say what you want to say, but Twitter doesn't have a right to promote you, which that's fine. But
you don't have a right to Twitter boosting you.
Fair, but what I'm
saying about shadow banning.
Yeah, but that's precisely what I'm saying is that by them not allowing you to engage in a service that you pay for, or by you saying things that they don't like, they are censoring you, and that's my issue. It is censorship, demonetization, shadow banning, limiting visibility. That is all forms of censorship, and it's a slippery slope that leads to problems. That's why even with your rhetoric saying like, hey, look, you got to phrase things a certain way. I have an issue even with that. I think people need to be able to say what they want to say, however they want to say it, not necessarily because I want to say it, but because we need to be able to make sure that the freedom of speech stays. And this is how they take away our rights. They start with, well, maybe just say it in a better way. Well, maybe not talk about this topic. Maybe not that. And the next thing you know, bam, your rights are gone. And that's with hate speech. We need to protect hate speech.
Yes, and I agree. But they don't talk about. They're not telling you can't talk about a topic.
Not really.
I've always.
Not really.
I believe.
That's the thing. It is a very slippery slope. People love to say, oh, the slippery slope, it's a fallacy. That's bullshit. You let one thing slide, and then they keep taking. Guns. Look at the gun issue. People, over time, oh, well, people don't need weapons of war. And then, little by little, they start banning everything. Trump even banned bump stocks, which are pointless. But the people who were against it, a lot of his followers were just like, no one cares about bump stocks. And that's true. No one really cares about bump stocks. But it's an infringement. Then first they take away bump stocks. Next they take away suppressors or whatever it is. This is all infringements. So if you allow X and all these companies to keep on censoring things, even if it's like the most egregious shit, if you allow them to keep censoring it, well, then the next time they're going to just do an Asmongold where, oh, Asmongold called Elon a fake gamer and now he lost his verification. You can't allow this to continue like that. You have to always stand up for the First Amendment.
That people who want to use slurs and say the nastiest, most vile things, like the post from Conservative OG about that Indian guy, and they called him some pretty nasty things and mocked his genetics. I'm in favor of them having the right to say that.
Indians were calling us all retarded. Elon called us subtards when the whole H-1B debate was going on. Indian people were saying the most vile shit about Americans, and no one gave a shit. No one got banned. So why is that okay? But if Myron wants to say something about Indians, or they're talking about someone else, but why is that okay? I called them all low IQ when I saw this one post. I just put a map of the IQ on Indian, the global IQ map, and India's is like 74 and a change. So
because then I can see it. And I know who they are, and I say I won't associate with them.
Good, and I agree with you. Like, they need to be able to see it, and I think they need to be able to have the reach too. Because here's the thing: if we want to go ahead and have the marketplace of ideas for real, and let the best ideas come out there, everyone needs to be able to reach the marketplace. When you censor people or you demonetize them or whatever, you're inadvertently creating censorship. I know you're saying, well, you don't have a right to earn. That's fine, but what you're doing when you do that, when you demonetize someone, is you're effectively using them as the scapegoat. Like, look, if you talk like this guy, you are going to lose your monetization. I would say most people off that are going to start self-censoring.
You keep saying marketplace of ideas, but the ideas are not censored. Like I said, people
they can't reach the marketplace of ideas.
No,
they can't reach it.
Listen, the anti-war guys, Scott Horton and Dave Smith, they do not have the same kind of limits placed on their stuff, and they are as critical of Israel as anyone else. So it's not about the ideas; it's about the delivery.
Well, if
keeps going back to Israel, no one is talking about Israel in this debate. It got brought up for a second, but Phil is obsessed with Israel. I don't even know why. Even on his X, he posts a lot about it, but. No one is even talking about that here. And again, it doesn't matter. Okay, so what? There's a couple of people who are not egregious with the things they say or the way they say them, and they're okay, but they're not. Their criticism of Israel is way lower than Myron's. I'll tell you that. Myron goes a little hard with it, but that's not even the point. The Israel debate isn't even here. The debate is that people need to be able to speak, and that Elon came out saying that's what I want to do, and that's why he got all these people back on X. That's why X became a fun, awesome place again. And now we're back to the censorship regime. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say I want censorship I mean, I don't want censorship, but then be okay with people being censored. That's like the wrong way to look at it.
If we're going to police delivery, that's problematic because
that's not the marketplace of ideas, though.
Like, again,
the problem is the advertisers. When you are on premium and advertisements appear in your content and the advertisers say, I refuse to pay for this, what is the solution?
Well, when it comes to advertisers, let's be very, I mean, we can talk about advertisers and how that really works. The problem with advertisers is advertisers really don't give a shit about where their ads run. They only care about making money. They only care when the ADL, Media Matters, SPLC, and these left-wing watchdog groups come in and say, are you aware of the fact that your ads are running on XYZ person's content? Then they lobby the platforms, right? And then they go ahead and pull the advertising.
Those are the large functions, but there's also just regular leftists who run sock puppet accounts and send like 50 emails to Coke, you know?
Yeah, sure. But who really gets their ear? Who really gets their ear? Jonathan Greenblatt, Media Matters, etc. That is how censorship works in America. They literally, this guy's made money, your ad ran on this guy's content. And then this is why
they get scared. They think they're going to get a PR hit. And so they say, then they go to X or they go to YouTube and they say, what is this all about and why are we getting emailed like this? This scares us. And then the platform says, yes. What are you going to do? The advertiser says, we're not going to spend money so long as we're getting this level of
and that's problematic. Like, again, that's why I make the argument for YouTube or these other platforms.
See, they start out with someone like Myron, who says some extreme things, or Nick Fuentes, who says even more extreme things, or Alex Jones, who says things that people think are crazy, but then end up being true for the most part. They start out that way. Tim will never have that issue because he stays right in the middle. He has his own YouTube guy who basically tells him, yeah, this will be okay if you do it, like when he brought on Alex Jones, and then they actually end up taking the episode down. But Tim Pool isn't going to have to worry about that. But if he keeps on simping for these big tech people that are doing the censoring, eventually they'll be like, okay, well, who's the most extreme voice online? Well, Tim Pool is, because he's a right-wing kind of libertarian, some liberal views, but he, you know, eventually if they kick off all the far right people, well, he'll be the farthest right, and then they'll come after him. And I don't ever want to hear him cry about censorship on him, because he has cried about it before. I don't ever want to hear him cry about censorship on him when he's fine with other people being censored and deboosted. He's fine with the shadow banning now because it's Myron and it's not him and it's not anyone, you know, mainstream, I guess. Myron's pretty mainstream in the online world, but he's not mainstream. Tim is pretty mainstream now, all as a whole. And so I don't ever want to hear him complaining about being censored anymore because this is bullshit.
The only reason I'm harping on this with X is because Elon came in saying this is a free speech app. I believe in it. It's the bedrock of democracy and utilize the First Amendment to substantiate his claim. If you're going to do that, that means you need to protect the hate speech. That means that it doesn't matter how people say things. And I see what you're saying. You're saying Scott Horton and Dave Smith say things in an eloquent manner when it comes to Israel. Well, guess what? There's people out there that are critical of Jewish power as well, and that's what gets censored. So that they don't talk about just the geopolitical angle. They talk about the cultural stuff, whatever, which I won't get into on YouTube. But the point I'm trying to make is that all that speech needs to be able to come in. The way it's said, or you know, the tonality and all that doesn't matter. It all needs to come in, and then we can assess and be like, this guy's an idiot, this guy's good, this guy's smart, this not. But if it doesn't come in, that's the problem. I think it all needs to come in.
I have no problem.
Completely agree. I like it.
Police tonality. That's where the problems arise.
I like it when someone is arguing something and then they're miserably crass, crude, nasty, and then I'm like, they're hurting their own argument. They're making themselves and their followers look really bad by doing this. Yeah. So if there's someone who has an idea that you don't like, let's say that like this. So I largely believe that there was a big op pertaining to H-1B, and I think we talked about it before the show, or whatever. Yeah. But the issue was that there were anti-H-1B accounts. So these are people who don't want immigrant workers that were posting vile, racist, and graphic images. Sure. I don't believe that was real anti-H-1B activists. Because why would someone who's like, I have criticism of immigration, start posting insanely racist things to hurt their own argument?
Yeah.
Because when you see a bunch of Indian people posting a bunch of racist shit, you reply in kind. The Buddha said, be a mirror and reflect what is given to you. So if I see a bunch of racist shit being directed at me because I'm American, fuck you. I'm going to be just as racist. Fuck off.
I mean, look, again, I don't have to, because people say all the time, Myron, you align with white supremacists or white nationalists. It's not that I align with them. It's that I'm a free speech absolutist. And though they say deplorable things about me too, about my Muslim background, my skin color.
You don't want, wait, you don't want.
Say, hold on. The thing is this. Though I don't agree with them, I will fight tooth and nail for their ability to say what they say because I understand that they're on the front lines of freedom of speech. If they take their speech away, I'm next.
What if they
I need to fight for their ability to say it, regardless of whether I like it or not. I'm truly a free speech absolutist.
I don't believe your principle.
You are a free speech absolutist at all.
Pornography doesn't count.
You're not a free speech absolutist. It doesn't exist.
It does.
Do you think people should advocate, direct for, and explain how to commit violence against other people?
Look, if we're going to talk about violence and hurting people, I mean, it's within. We got to use a little bit of reason.
Okay, so that's the point that we're making.
You know, I'm actually okay with people advocating for stuff. I think people make their own decisions. I wouldn't advocate for anyone to violently hurt anyone, but people have to make their own decisions. And why are we saying, oh, well, you told this person, you said people should do X, Y, and Z, and they went and did it, and it's your fault, and not put the full blame on the person who actually went and did it. That's stupid. That's you can't. These guys are like fake, you know. Phil Labonte, the singer from that band, and Tim Pool claim to be libertarians or libertarian light or whatever. But then they're for people holding hands and say, you know, holding other people's hands and saying, they pushed me to do it. No, take responsibility for your own action. Bullshit.
Yeah, but inciting violence and saying we need to go do X, Y, Z.
You're
to
saying
people,
porn too.
But I'm pornography.
You're straight up saying that does not count as free speech.
Not at all.
That is just your perspective.
Porn does not count as free speech whatsoever. It is degenerative.
Let's pause real quick. Do you think Phil? You think it is free speech?
I do.
Okay, now
I'm not advocating for it.
Let's just stop. The two of you are the only people voting. Vote on whether or not you believe that free speech includes porn. What's your vote? No. What's your vote? Yes. How do you rectify the problem?
Okay, you can make the argument that porn can be shot without any speech at all.
No. I'm saying like
it's literally not speech, man. It's not speech.
In your country, Phil is protesting you for violating free speech rights, and you're saying, but I'm not. You clearly there is a disagreement.
Yeah, but it's not.
Myron, what if you're writing pornographic stories, right? It's a story. It's literature, and it's vulgar as you possibly can get, and it's pornographic, but it's not pictures.
Like books?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a bit different.
What about Playboy?
I mean, the point
Stop. Let him run
We're getting into a slippery slope here.
I know that's the whole point of this.
Like again,
and same with calls to violence.
I'm
so
talking,
I don't think you're principled in your free speech absolutism is the issue here. I think
it's within reason. We have to be reasonable here. Like, I'm a free speech absolutist, which means I allow people to talk about violent rhetoric.
Most people who call themselves free.
Well, that's the thing. No one is a free speech absolutist. You'd have to be a pedophile to be one, because then you'd be okay with videos or images of child harm. No one is okay with that unless they enjoy it. That's not the issue. No, they're making stupid arguments to try and win points in the debate, but they're just stupid arguments. Like, there's no need to say that no one is a free speech absolutist, because no one is. However, yeah, you should be able to make violent, not direct violent threats, because that's assault, but you should be able to say, I wish someone would do this. I think someone should do this. As long as you don't do it, I mean, someone else made that decision to do it. That's the person who's at fault, not you. But that's not how the law works. So don't go advocating for that kind of stuff. But you should be able to. It should be within the law. I mean, the Second Amendment is to protect against a tyrannical government. Someone has to make threats against said tyrannical government if anyone is ever to revolt against said tyrannical government. But they would call that treason. So what is it?
Free speech absolutists do believe in free reach of calls for violence.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. 100%.
No, they don't. No, they do
Free
not.
speech absolutism.
No, they do not. Every free speech absolutist,
Myron,
none of them
you're not
advocate for
principled at all
violence.
with
None of them
that.
advocate for violence. None of them. Even the craziest people on the right.
They advocate for them being allowed to use that speech. Is what a free speech absolutist would say. Not that they would call for it themselves.
This is a fact question, and you're wrong. Like we've had debates with free speech absolutists, anarchists.
I've had them on my show. They don't believe in violence.
They are. I never said believing in violence. Free speech absolutists believe you can speak because speaking is not action, and you should be allowed to say whatever you want, even if it's encouraging violent crime or directing it, because you didn't actually do anything. That's why I'm not
Correct. That's my position.
an absolutist.
Charles Manson did nothing wrong.
I actually think censorship is good. The issue is,
For me and you disagree.
You're completely wrong. Do you think that books with adult content for
I was just kidding about the Charles Manson thing. He, as far as I know, he actually participated. He just didn't actually kill anyone, but yeah. No. And he also brainwashed him with mind controlling drugs and stuff like that. So don't quote me on that Charles Manson thing. But the idea that he just told people and they did it, that's what I meant.
for sex that should be given to children?
No.
That's censorship. Censorship
Without reason. I mean,
Children don't have the ability to consent to anything. It's the same argument you would make about sex change drugs or sex change procedures. Tim Pool, I've heard you say those things. Exactly. But now you're saying about the porn that you would have to be okay with children being able to see it. That's not there. I don't know why they're putting up all these red herrings, but that's what they are.
Wait. See, I'm assuming. Hold on. See, I'm assuming that we all have common sense in here, where I don't have to go ahead and delineate specific instances where free speech doesn't apply. Because I would think that we all have common sense here. We're talking about political speech. We're talking about ideas, the marketplace, not pornography.
I get
images to kids. Like, come on, guys.
And this would be incorrect for several reasons. So Ian Carlson on the show was a censor for Minds.com. What did he censor? Censor literally means choosing whether to show or not show something. It comes from the word census, going back to ancient Rome. What was Ian doing as a censor on Minds? Most of the stuff that was being censored was graphic, gore, child abuse, and things like that. He, on Minds, would see something and say, people are not allowed to see this. Delete, remove. So,
you know, yeah, gore. I mean, if you're going to be a free speech platform, gore should be fine. I don't know if X you can post anything too gory, but you know, it's the child harm stuff that makes it an issue. But yeah, I mean, they have AI for that now that just goes and finds the child harm stuff and can remove it. They should just use that.
So when I had the debate with Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, I said, adults should not bring books with graphic adult images into grade schools. She said, that's censorship. I said, you're damn right it is, and I am for it. So the issue is, my moral line says, I agree with you, porn, I do not respect as free speech. Yeah. I am not a free speech absolutist. I recognize that some people want the right to show graphic images in public. I reject that outright. Free speech to me can be broad, but largely refers to explaining ideas and how governance should work and what should or should not be.
Yeah.
So showing two dudes or two ladies or a guy and a dude in public, I don't consider that within the confines of free speech, and I'd be willing to bet.
And I would say most sensible people wouldn't, which is why I didn't feel the need to delineate that for you guys, because we're talking about politics and ideas and culture.
If you went to the founding fathers and said, do you believe free speech includes showing images of adults engaged in adult activities in public, they'd be like, heavens no, we'll arrest you for that.
Yeah.
So George Carlin in the 70s got arrested for cursing. See, I think cursing is free speech. I think slurs are free speech. I don't think you should be allowed to instruct or direct violence because you're providing a mechanism for which someone agree in violence. I don't think political ideas and the function of society and governance is benefited by displaying images of adult content. That conveys no structure, no political opinion. I don't agree with that. But that's why I'm not a free speech absolutist. I believe free speech extends to political ideas, cultural ideas, and explaining how we think things should be or should work. So if you want to go in public and argue you have a right to display pornography, that's free speech. If you want to actually hold up pictures of it, I disagree. That's obscene and lewd, and I don't think it should be allowed.
Yeah, well, again, I didn't think I would need to,
Pretty much anyone that's not at a gay pride parade agrees with that, Tim.
talk about that explicitly because we're on a political podcast. We all have common sense here. I don't need to go ahead and talk about, oh yeah, well, pornography doesn't count or violence. Like, I think we're all sensible here to understand, like, we're talking about political talk, culture, etc. I didn't need to go there. But if you guys really want to go there and say, well, technically that's not free speech absolutist because whatever. I'm trying to stay on topic here. My point is that if we're
You're using the word wrong, Myron. You're using free speech absolutist wrong.
So there, go to the.
He is using it wrong if you want to get very semantic about it and very nitpicky about it, yeah. But he's right. He's in a place where they talk about this stuff all the time, and they're breaking it down into stupid semantics in a place where they normally wouldn't bother with that because they disagree with him. So they're just throwing up red herrings, trying to derail him, putting up semantic arguments to kind of like stall him out because they're almost at the end of the show. So that's why they're doing it, I think.
The LP, right? Go to their convention, and you
within reason,
and there will be a
absolutism within reason. Since we need to add this.
No, hold on. Absolute means to the extreme end. There's nothing. It's as far as you can go. As far as you can go is that I can say literally anything at any point without consequence. That's absolutism. And these people exist, and we've debated them on the show. We've argued with them, and they've literally stated, advocating for, directing, and explaining how to commit violence is not the action itself. People can say whatever they want. I disagree.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And I mean, and again, I typically frame it by the First Amendment. Again, that's my big thing is the First Amendment. Obviously, inciting violence or going into that realm is illegal.
Peaceably.
So yeah. So, you know.
There's a challenge there.
What?
Because what the left has been trying to do is argue that emotional damage is violence. And so that's why, under the First Amendment, hate speech can be banned. Because actions that can induce harm, such as incitement to violence, we agree aren't free speech. Ergo, speech that causes emotional trauma.
That's why I disagree with all this nonsense. If you say something that can lead to violence, that's the people who commit the violence's fault. But according to the law, that's not. So that's an issue that we have to tackle because I should be able to advocate for anything I want to advocate for as far as that goes. If I don't commit the crime, why should I have to do any time? If someone else hears my words, gets inspired, and then goes and does something, that should be entirely on them. They went and did the thing. I didn't tell them to do the thing.
Or other deleterious effects or negative effects on a person is harmful violence, we can ban it.
Yeah, but
that's the argument they're making.
Yeah, of course, but there's a million cases where hate speech is protected under the First Amendment, even in situations where there have been like riots. Like
I got to try and read some super chats. I apologize.
Yeah. No,
because
no worries. I mean, the definition of free speech absolute, that's fine. But my point is, simply put, if Elon's going to come in and say First Amendment, free speech needs to stand by, that's my stance.
All right, Darren Gaming says this is the start of Russia hoax 2.0. Biden decrees equal rights, which we have.
All right, we're not going to listen to them and read super chats, but that was their debate. I think Myron really didn't hit him on the issue he should have, which is that we're not asking for him to artificially boost accounts. We're not telling him that he has to go out of his way to put extra people in the algorithm who say things that are insulting, racist, whatever. But they should be able to be viewed by the people who are actually following them. That's the issue. Tim kept on saying amplify, amplify, amplify. And Myron should have really hit him on that one, because he never said that in his argument. So if he believes that, I wouldn't know it. But his argument was not the right one. His argument should have been to attack that amplification word, because that's a very heavily weighted word. And Tim kept on saying it because, yeah, no one should have to amplify anything. And that's the main issue. But if Elon wants to take away someone's ability to make money off of ads because they say something that advertisers decide they don't want to be associated with, that's fine. Elon should make a list of certain words or topics where advertisers can fill it out, and then they don't have to advertise to those people or put those people ads on those people's things. But if he wants to be a full-on First Amendment platform like he claims, well, then people with a blue check mark who pay for the blue check mark should be able to monetize on companies that don't put that in their requests. And he should also not be stopping people from having paid subscribers, because the subscribers is just, hey, I like your content, I'm going to subscribe, I want to get whatever extra content you're going to put out for your actual subscribers. And that shouldn't be a carrot on a stick that they're holding out for people. That's exactly what Elon is using it for, and that is the wrong way to do things. But he is definitely doing them, and he's basically causing people to self-censor themselves. It's not good. It's gonna end up being an issue. It's a slippery slope, and when we allow slippery slopes to continue, well, then we end up at the bottom of the slope eventually with a big pile of shit on top of us. Guys, it's been great. I have another Tim Pool video I'm going to be covering soon. I was supposed to get to it last night, but some stuff came up. My buddy, the Insane One, is going to be joining me for that, and possibly one or two other buddies. So I'm trying to coordinate with them. If I can get it tomorrow, I will. Check out all of our links. We got the Discord. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I haven't posted anything on Instagram, but I'm going to start at some point. And you can follow me anywhere that can be followed. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, Instagram. All my links are in the description. Join the Discord. And thank you for tuning in. Good night.